Today's guest, Jeff Szur, is founder and COO of Altitude Water, and he has spent the last 15 years studying Mother Nature and how she provides and purifies water for the earth. He has implemented these principles into an amazing machine that makes pure, alkaline, and highly oxygenated water from the air, as well as purification systems that can purify contaminated water. Unbelievable. That's right, you heard it right. Water from the air. And he and his team have used this technology to bring water to remote villages in Cameroon, in Africa, as well as to disaster relief trailers in Maui for the wildfires and in Asheville last year after Hurricane Helene. Jeff can provide a machine to do this in your own home or office and has added frequency to the water through a partnership with Good Vibrations Music Company. So, Jeff, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Bruce, it's such an honor to be here, and I love what you guys do with your expo, and because the body is our temple, right? And our soul is in our body, so we got to try and make sure we protect it.
Absolutely. So, listen, you've come up with an amazing technology, one that I know. I lived on a tropical island in the Western Caribbean for 9 years, and they were trying to find a way to desalinate water and find a way that they can get water to the islanders. And I'm sure every island in the whole world can kind of use what you have. So, how did you get started with this? Where'd you grow up, and how did you become adult Jeff?
I grew up in a small town called Milltown, and yes, we had a mill in New Jersey. Basically, it's central New Jersey. Really is West Brunswick. You have New Brunswick, East Brunswick, South Brunswick, but the West Brunswick was Milltown, and because they had a mill, they called it Milltown. Had a great childhood. My father has always been an entrepreneur, which gave me that entrepreneurial spirit. He worked hard to send me to a private high school called Petty in Hightstown, New Jersey. And from there, I went on to Vanderbilt University in beautiful Nash Vegas, which we affectionately call Nashville. And I did a whole bunch of different things. I was in the finance industry. I was in the oil and gas business. My dad hit the largest oil and gas well in New York State back in 1982, called the Maury Well. So, my girlfriend in high school, her father used to say that I used to get out of dishes by talking business with dad and make my brother do the dishes while we talk business. So it sort of gave me that entrepreneurial spirit that I really haven't worked for anyone my whole life. But I've always tried to build something and really solve. An entrepreneur solves issues, right? They solve problems. So that's what I was taught, and that's what I've done most of my life.
So, how'd you first get to have the understanding about water and how important water can be to certain areas?
Well, and we were a little bit early. So about 17 years ago, I sold my restaurants. I was also a restaurateur. I had a couple of restaurants in Bordentown, New Jersey. At the same time, my dad, who was living in Louisiana, had sold his oil wells. And so we were both liquid at the time. And so we both looked at each other and says, what do we want to do when we grow up? So we started looking at various industries, and with the proliferation of pollution in our water systems and seeing how that was going, we believed that water was going to be the next oil. So we started looking at different technologies, and we found this atmospheric water generator out of manufactured in China. So we said this makes a lot of sense. Water is we only have the same amount of water as when God formed this earth, right? So it's constantly going through what we learned in seventh grade in earth sciences as the water cycle. And when you look at the water cycle, it goes through three different forms, right? Gas form, liquid form, and solid form. So we have ice, we have the liquid, which is our groundwater, the lakes and rivers and aquifers, and then we have the gas form, which, we only know humidity as something that makes things very, very difficult and much hotter than the temperature seems. And, women know it as something that messes up their hair. But we learned that humidity could be something awesome, that when condensed, the water that is condensed is pure. And you think about it, how do we distill water? We take liquid water, we boil it, we bring it up to steam, we capture that steam, and then we bring it back to a liquid water. And that's distilled water, which has zero TDS and is pure. So it amazed me that, Mother Nature, and I think, as we can all see in this world, Mother Nature does things right. We're the ones that mess it up. Humans are the ones that mess it up. So when we started looking at it made a lot of sense. So we started being as a distributor, and we saw a lot of problems with these machines because they were using reverse osmosis and UV lights to keep pure water pure. Because once you store water, as you know, contaminants and bacteria and biofilm will try and form. And other than the issues with quality control over in China, the machines that were running, after a year, we started seeing the total dissolved solids start going up and going through the roof. And we're saying, well, how does that happen, right? Because the water is pure. And when we broke down the machine, we found in the tubing, because you had to have multiple tanks to move it through the filters and the UV light, all of that tubing was creating biofilm and bacteria and things of that nature. So we said, okay, how would nature do it? And then we found ozone, which ozone is one of the most powerful water purifiers. We know it as a great mold purifier, but in water it oxidizes. So ozone is O3. What makes it such a powerful water purifier is the third oxygen molecule is what's known as a radical. And what it will do is detach and oxidize anything that's not supposed to be in the water: bacterias, viruses, oxidized metals, things of that nature. So now we said, wow, look at this. Nature's provided us a natural, if you're in a lightning storm and it strikes by you and that sweet smell in the air, that's nature making ozone. And of course, we also know the ozone layer is what protects us from the sun. So we said, wow, now all of a sudden our water is the purifying method. So as we circulate the water throughout the system, we're going to keep not only keep the water pure, but we're going to keep the machine pure. So, a lot of people have the Kagan systems and you're constantly having to clean it. You don't have to do that with our machine. Just by its function, and thanks to the benefits that Mother Nature and God has given us, we are able to use that to keep the water pure and keep our machine pure. And then we moved our manufacturing to the United States because we wanted to create jobs here and we wanted to make a made in the USA product. So we're not an assembled in the USA product. We are actually a made in the USA product. And from there, from our first machines, which was the home and office unit, and a little bit bigger unit, we started doing R&D, and we now have disaster relief trailers, as well as larger units. As you said, we're now providing water for remote villages in Africa. Transformed Amy Grant and Vince Gill's farm over a decade to what they had: sulfur water where you couldn't drink it, and they always had to, in Franklin, Tennessee, ship water out to their farm. And now we have it, after a decade, totally water independent, like its own water municipal system. So between rainwater capture, using the ozone to purify the sulfur water and our atmospheric water generators, we provide enough water for the whole farm.
Wow, that's quite incredible. Like I said before, uh, islands anywhere in the world surrounded by salt water all have to find a way to get drinking water.
Right.
So I think you're certainly onto something really big here.
And the desal, if you think about, well, desal is a great technology, but the problem is where do you put that heavily concentrated brine without harming our beautiful planet, without harming our coral reefs, without harming all of the fish and life in our ocean, and you see that the Middle East is really relying on desal. And I joke that we're all going to be able to play Jesus and walk across the Persian Gulf, not because we're so good, but because there's so much salt in the water that you're not going to be able to sink in it. So it really is for drinking water, just a wonderful technology that the Earth has given us because it purifies its own water. And now we can tap into, because we've become a pharmaceutical nation. We've dumped PFAS chemicals into our groundwater. And then, the beverage companies did one of the most brilliant marketing in the world. They told everyone this. They started showing that the EPA has not put another chemical on its list for the past 20 years and really gave facts and gave fear, but their solution was bottled water, right? So it's basically filtering and putting this water into a container that is now going to break down and become microplastics, where all of a sudden our body is now going to be filled with plastic, which is not something that our body was made for, and there's no way for us to process it or to get it out. So now we have forever chemicals, PFAS chemicals in our water that we don't know how to get out. And now we have microplastics in our water that is just horrible. So they did a great job in letting us know that we've polluted our water too much, but their solution just created another ecological nightmare for the planet and for ourselves.
So what's preventing you and your company right now from exploding all over the world?
Well, number one is taking part in things that you and your wife are doing in putting together expos that we can now showcase our technology. So and again, we are a disruptive technology, so we're battling against the Nestle's, the Cokes, and the Pepsis of this world, which they're a little better funded than we are. So it's a matter of capital and education, right? It always boils down to education. It's what your expo represents. You bring people in to educate them with all of these various technologies on how we can make sure that our temple, our body, will operate at peak efficiency, and that we'll get the value from this body that God created us for. So we want to thank you and we're really looking forward to the expo on Sunday to showcase our technology and allow people to taste the water. I will tell you, and I can't wait for you guys to taste it. It You will notice an immediate difference. Most people and kids are the best for taste tests because they always choose our water, and when we ask them why, they break it down to the most simplistic form. They say it just tastes fresher. And and yeah, because we just made it, and we made it without any of those harmful chemicals that are in the groundwater that we've been taking water from. I did, and I'm sure you did as well. We used to drink water from a garden hose, right? We were playing outside, run over to the hose, boom, and now you can't do that. Now you can, because what you're doing when you're drinking groundwater is you're changing your body from your temple to a filter. Your body is now the one that's supposed to filter out all those contaminants, and that is not something. This body should not be a filter. This body should have pure alkaline oxygenated water to enhance, and again, that ozone The great thing about ozone is after 20 minutes, it reverts back into oxygen. So we have the most highly oxygenated water. If you let a glass sit there, it will almost look carbonated. And it's not any carbonation that's in it, it's actually the oxygen. So, we talk about dehydration, and dehydration is not about the amount of water you drink, right? It's about the amount of water your cells absorb. You're trying to get that water to a cellular molecular level so your mitochondria and all your cell functions can be as efficient as possible. And that happens with our water because just on the basis of osmosis, it goes from a greater concentration of oxygen to a lower concentration of oxygen. So if you're drinking our water, the water is going to go across the cell membrane much easier and hydrate those cells and allow them to work at peak efficiency. Because we're made 72% of water, right? So you want to make sure the water that's in your body is enhancing. But if you're drinking groundwater with microplastics, you're clogging things. You're not allowing the flow of our body to take effect.
So I'm going to ask you what now sounds like a dumb question. I live in a nice town. I grew up in New York where, they still
Water's great.
brag that they make the best bagels
Yep.
because of the water. Tell me about the water we're drinking. You might have explained this already. Start with New York. What are we drinking in New York? And here we are in the in Palm Beach County, and I sure as hell hope that my water is okay.
Well, here's the problem. As I said, the EPA we've had 4 5-year studies that have been renewed 4 times. So we're talking 20 years of not putting a new chemical. Lithium is one of the chemicals that they've been studying. And now with the proliferation of EV and lithium ion batteries, we're talking about lithium being in, a ton of the water, like we saw in Maui, when all those EVs uh, went up in flames. They wouldn't let people back in their houses because of all the lithium that was in the air. And so, me, of course, being at the FEMA meetings and all the meetings, I said, "Well, what'd you do for testing for the lithium in the water?" And they said, "Oh, we haven't." And I said, I know you haven't because it's not on the schedule and there's no EPA regulation for how you're supposed to test for it. So the problem is we have schedules, but there's a whole bunch of stuff like PFAS chemicals that aren't on those schedules, right? And we just recently had to pass something, the Biden administration passed something to identify and to go after the PFAS chemicals, but you never see on a water test how much estrogen do you have it now. How many people in this great country of our women take birth control pills? Well, 90% of that estrogen is going to be urinated out and go into our waterway, right? We have fish that don't know whether they're male or female, and we're affecting their cycles. So yes, getting your water tested is important. It's expensive. A water test that will tell you from Spectrum Labs will run you somewhere between $400 and $700. We think that it'd be a better investment to invest in a one of our water systems where you know where you're getting your water from, and you know that the water's pure, and you know it's highly oxygenated. And again, we we had two options. The alkaline water is a big thing in the medical community, and you have two ways to raise alkalinity in your water: ionization, which is what the Kagan water does, which is mix up the electrons and make it so it's alkaline, or you can use mineralization. And again, we took the class with Mother Nature, and we thought putting calcium and magnesium and these minerals that will raise the pH will be better for our temple and for our body. And so we chose to use mineralization. So with all these filters, your body being one of them, we only have two filters. One which is a a carbon block filter just to take out the dead organisms that the ozone kills, the bacteria that's trying to grow into biofilm. And then our other filter is actually putting minerals into our water. So it raises the pH to a 8.1, and it's also lasting because the minerals are in the water, whereas ionization, after about an hour, that alkalinity, you're going to lose that.
So when people come to the expo, they're all going to want your system at home.
Yeah, we're gonna run a special for you guys. So working on that right now. We're gonna give some money off on our standard unit to really give back to our community. We truly believe in community. We see how things are happening in Africa and the transformation that's happening when we've given them water. So we want to do that as well. The great thing about the expo is we are bringing the disaster relief trailer so people can see what we're doing. It's all
Wow.
run on solar. So we're not only providing water in a disaster situation, but we have 60 kilowatts of battery storage. We have solar wings and solar panels. We do have a generator on it because if you're in a disaster and you have two or three cloudy days, you want to make sure you could still give water. So we do have a backup generator, or you can hook it up to the grid. But it's a totally incredible, nothing like it in the world, disaster relief trailer. And on top of that, so we have water and electricity. What's the other thing that's needed in a disaster? Communication. What we saw in Maui when all these fires and the cell towers went down, the logistics afterwards, you had no internet and you had no cell phone service. When this trailer comes up, when we went up to Asheville, we work with a couple of we work with a number of high profile nonprofits, but footprintproject.org, who does a great job with solar trailers, introduced us to Grassroots Aid Partnership, who provides food. They have food trucks. They go around the world during disaster with their food trucks. Well, they're based in Nashville, and they would have never imagined that a hurricane would have come there. But thank God their warehouse wasn't affected, so they took their trucks out and they brought it downtown to the firehouse. And they soon realized, wow, we don't have water or electricity to run these things. Well, in comes Altitude Waters Disaster Relief Trailer that was funded by Mind Army, a nonprofit that believes that pure drinking water is your human right, other than the CEO of Nestle that says that it's not your right to have safe drinking water. But don't worry, they'll sell it to you. So you'll be able to see the disaster relief trailer. We also have an affiliation and a distributorship and a partnership with another one of your vendors, Good Vibrations Music Company. So one of the things that we started doing as well is adding frequency to the water.
Wow.
So, the frequency, the energy, Dr. Emoto did some great things with how you can imprint water and things of that nature. So you're not only going to be able to have the purest, alkaline, oxygenated water, but it's also going to have frequencies for balance and things of that nature in your water that's going to be absorbed into your cells. You'll be able to see a frequency bed there, but we've really combined our two technologies to really even increase and enhance a water that no one really knows about and what is best for your body.
Again, who wouldn't want that? The question is how easily affordable, number one, and we don't have to
Mhm.
talk about prices, but
No, we
how
can.
can people, is it difficult to get it into people's homes? Do you have to be an owner? Can you be a renter?
You can be a renter, and those are the things, Bruce, that you were talking about. So we want to go on a rental program. Obviously, as a small emerging growth technology company, we're not able to finance that ourselves right now, but we're working with some leasing companies. So it's literally if you have a plug and you have airflow, like everyone that has a balcony should have one of these. It's going to make 12 to 15 gallons a day, in your balcony. Oh, no plumbing. You don't have to do anything. You take it out of the box, you plug it in, you hit the on switch, and it starts making water. And it's got a 7 gallon tank to store. And like I said, it constantly every 20 minutes we run our ozone cycle, so we keep the machine pure. So every time you put that glass to that machine, so the machine runs $4,000. But again, we made our first run, and Broward Bolt is still our bolt supplier for what we do. And we actually traded back then when we were really trying to get the machines out there and running lean and mean. We traded one of our machines for bolts, and that machine is still operating in their uh, office 15 years later. So you're talking about spending $4,000. Now we make water at about 8 cents a gallon. So you do the math. You're out there buying all of the bottled water that is contaminated and creating plastic. Well, how much is that costing you a gallon when you have a machine that for 12 to 15 years is going to make you water at 8 cents a gallon? I'm not a math major, but I think that that's a pretty good deal.
Jeff, I think you're going to be able to use this interview as a selling pitch that anyone will open their ears and open their eyes to, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
I'm proud that you do what you do and that we're a part of your expo, because we really got to take care of our community, right? And the core basis of that is education. You look at everything that's going on in the world today, and people go to different sources. You got to do education for yourself. Don't rely on what someone's telling you anymore, because not everyone has your best interest at heart. But if you care about your family and your kids and what they're putting into their body, we would urge you to taste our water and do the research. We could sit down with you and show you that everything that I'm telling you is absolutely true. This water cycle has been here since the earth was formed, the still water. And we want to thank you for educating our community, and hopefully we can have a community that's not only healthy but a strong soul and spirit, that we can all reach our potential and all do the purpose that we were created for, because we all have a purpose for what we're created for, but we got to make sure that we take care of our body, our mind, and our soul in order to do that efficiently and effectively.
Well, all I can say is wow again. And I really appreciate you being with us here today. And people will be able to find you not in the main ballroom, but just outside the front door. You'll have your whole truck set up right to the entrance of the main part of the hall.
Absolutely. So people can keep refilling. We would encourage everyone to bring a reusable, because while we will have cups, I don't like creating waste for our planet. So
Wow.
everyone that comes to the expo, please bring your reusable glass, and we'll keep filling it because we'll make more for you. As you're looking at all these other great technologies and things within the expo, and you're getting up a thirst, you can come back out. We'll fill it up. And then also, Good Vibrations Music Company has a booth. I believe it's booth M, and I believe that they'll also have a T12 in the booth, so people could fill up there as well.
Incredible. Well, thank you, Jeff, for being with us. And it's just a few days away now.
I
So
can't wait.
we'll be getting some healthy water very, very soon. God bless, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for being with us.
God bless. Thank you for inviting me.